Ladies and gentlemen, we will start in 5 minutes. We will waiting for our guest speaker.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Roslan. Prof. Roslan ya. Saya nampak nama tak Prof ya. Dah.
Ya, okey. Boleh dengar saya?
Okey. Kurang jelas sikit, Prof.
Kurang jelas ya.
Dengar-dengar lah, cuma macam agak perlahan.
Boleh dengar saya? 1, 2, 3, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Okey. Cantik. Video pun okey. Dr. Nuraida ada ya? Ataupun
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today for the online program on empowering students' leadership in sustainable development goals via intergenerational knowledge transfer. Our welcoming ceremony will be begin shortly. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning to Professor Dr. Roslan Hashim, Deputy Vice Chancellor Sustainability and Institutional Development, University Science Malaysia, Associate Professor Dr. Saidatul Akmal Muhammad, Director, Center for Global Sustainability Studies, University Science Malaysia, Dr. Ashira Abdul Rahim, Coordinator Regional Center of Expertise, RCE Penang, University Science Malaysia, and also the content expert for this program, Dr. Nuraida Yaakob, the project leader of Science and Technology Awareness Program, the content experts, Dr. Normaliza Abdul Manaf, National Poison Center, University Science Malaysia, Dr. Jafaring Lalu, School of Industrial Technology, University Science Malaysia, Dr. Fazliza Cik Ahmad, IPG Sultan Abdul Halim Campus, RCE Penang Fellows, USM staff, RCE family, teachers, youth, and students. I'm Nur Azira binti Akbar, your moderator for today's program. On behalf of RCE Penang, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We appreciate all of you taking time off your busy schedule to join us for today for our online program on empowering students' leadership in sustainable development goals via intergenerational knowledge transfer organized by RCE Penang, USM in collaboration with Penang Educational Council for Science and Technology Awareness Program. The main objective for today's program is to develop student leadership for building a sustainable society through education and sharing knowledge from the perspective of youth regarding the sustainable development goals. We hope you will learn a lot today as we have lined up for you activities that are fruitful and engaging. Before we begin, I have two announcements to make to all participants. The link for attendance and e-cert will be given towards the end of session today. Please mute your mic to prevent interruption during the session. Thank you. To start off this morning formality, I would like to invite Dr. Ashira Abdul Rahim, Coordinator, Regional Center of Expertise, RCE, Penang, University Science Malaysia, to deliver her welcoming speech. Please welcome Dr. Ashira Abdul Rahim.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Selamat pagi, good morning, good day to all and wherever you are. Thank you, Ms. Azira, our moderator for today's session. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Mat Roslan Hashim, Deputy Vice Chancellor Sustainability and Institutional Development, University Science Malaysia. Yang berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Saidatul Akmal Muhammad, Director, Center for Global Sustainability Studies, University Science Malaysia. Dr. Noraida Yaakob, the Project Leader for Science and Technology Awareness Program, PPST 2021. Our content expert, Dr. Normaliza Abdul Manaf, Dr. Jabaring Lalung, Dr. Fazliza Cik Ahmad, and our beloved RCE Penang Fellows, USM staffs, our other RCE families, our Club Sejahtera teachers, RCE Sejahtera youth, and students. Welcome everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to our program today, Empowering Students' Leadership in Sustainable Development Goals via Intergenerational Knowledge Transfer Program. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go on, please let me introduce a bit about RCE Penang. RCE Penang is a United Nations recognized regional center of expertise on education for sustainable development, in short RCE Penang ESD. So actually we are a group of people, academics and staff at University Science Malaysia who works in partnership with key stakeholders to bring about change for sustainability at the community level through education. In terms of formal education, informal, and also non-formal education, like we are having this program today. So Alhamdulillah, we are gathered here today again this year, despite the pandemic and the challenges that we are facing, and we can still organize and have this program, which is actually an annual program that we have been having for the past 3 years. This is in collaboration with one of our key stakeholders in Penang, the Penang Education Council, who has given us some funding to organize this and towards enriching the schools in Penang. So this is under the Program Penggalakan Science and Technology, or PPST. And this project is actually led by Dr. Noraida Yaakob. I think she is here today with us. and who is actually one of our RCE Penang Fellow and an expert in science education from the School of Education, University Science Malaysia. Okay, and we are grateful to her and her team in organizing this program and her contributions in this organizing this for the 3rd year. And just a little bit on the objective of the program. We hope that this program would be able to develop students' leadership in the university and also in the schools, for building a sustainable society through education, which is part of our RCE transformative education agenda. And the second one is to promote Penang as a state in Malaysia that is actively engaging students in promoting SDGs at school level. So our working in partnership with the Penang State through the council. And to strengthen the collaboration in cultivating an innovation ecosystem for the creation of knowledge, talent development, and product excellence. I'll explain a bit later on this one, and to create leaders who are able to transform their knowledge for a sustainable society, and of course, finally, to empower students to be leaders, agents of change, in promoting sustainable development goals. As I mentioned just now, the project has 2 main activities. The first is this, what we're having today, the online webinar, and the second is the video competition. So in this way, we hope that we can create the ecosystem that can enhance the transformation process. Therefore, our online webinar is actually open to all. And I am happy to see everyone joining us in this WebEx session. I think now the participants have increased. I can see the total now is 46 in WebEx. And also we are live streaming in our Facebook, and we can also see participants in our live FB RCE Penang Facebook live session. So welcome everyone. And I'm happy to see everyone joining us from Kedah, Penang, of course, Negeri Sembilan, I think Sabah, and Kuala Lumpur from Malaysia. We also have some registration and hope they are able to join us today from Wesley High School, Otopo, Benua, Nigeria, and also University of Architecture, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. So welcome to all. And hope you will get a lot of information today, and we can continue to have to see more actions after this. And for the second activity after this, would be the video competition. However, this video competition is only open to schools in Penang for this moment. Okay, and I hope all those from Penang will get to understand more about sustainable development and also what we can do in terms of participating in this agenda. So this year, the project team focuses on 3 sustainable development goals. No poverty, so SDG 1, responsible consumption and production, the SDG 12, and life below water, SDG 14. If you are wondering about what these are, we will learn more about these topics and also learn how we can also be part of the sustainability agenda with our speakers in a while. And in our effort to engage with as many partners, the project adopted an intergenerational approach where RCE fellows and other experts, lecturers from University Science Malaysia, and here we see also participating from IPG, the Institute Pendidikan Guru, and in transferring their knowledge and also presentation skills and other skills, by coaching the speakers. Okay, the speakers that we have today are actually the members of our RCE Sejahtera Youth, yeah, our RCE Penang youth wing. And in this way, we help the content experts actually help in developing and coaching the students in their content for presentation sharing today. And the experts for today would be Dr. Normaliza, yeah, Dr. Japaring, Dr. Fazliza, and also actually myself. And I think I don't want to prolong my speech. Yeah, the more importantly, we would like to have the sharing session. Yeah, and the question and answer later. So before I end, I would like to take this opportunity again to thank you, to thank all the project team. Yeah, Dr. Noraida, Wan Sharifah Mira, Puan Nur Shazwana, Puan Kamsia, our RCE fellows, the content experts, and our RCE Sejahtera youth members for all their hard work and dedication in this project. And our appreciation also to the support given by Associate Professor Dr. Sadatul Akmal Muhammad, our Director, our Center for Global Sustainability Studies, and of course, our utmost gratitude goes to Professor Dr. Mat Roslan Hashim, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of USM, for his constant support in all our programs. And our special appreciation to all our Club Sejahtera members as schools in Penang for their constant support to us and participation in our program. Thank you all, and I wish a fruitful session for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashira Abdurrahim, for the welcoming speech. Ladies and gentlemen, next, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Mat Roslan Hashim, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Sustainability and Institutional Development, University Science Malaysia, to give his welcoming speech. Please welcome Professor Dr. Mat Roslan Hashim.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everyone. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, the chairman, for the short introduction. Dear participant, and first and foremost, thank you and well done to Director of for Center for Global and for Sustainability Studies, USM, Associate Professor Dr. Sadatul Akmal, Dr. Ashira Abdurrahim, Coordinator for RCE Penang, USM, and content experts, Dr. Normaliza Abdurrahim from National Poison Center, Dr. Japaring, also Dr. Ashira herself, also the content expert, and also Dr. Fazliza, Cik Ahmad, RPG Sultan Abdul Halim campus, the students, and the presenter for the youth section, also students from USM. And this is very timely program that we need to have consistently, because this is a very important event for us to get involved. And USM, under my office, which is institutional development, sustainability and institutional development, which overlooking Center for Global and Sustainability Studies. And then inside this center also we have RCE, together joining effort in bringing the sustainability agenda from the university to the public. So this is a small section where we want to engage the future leaders, future generation, which is the youth and the school children. So today we're going to have a seminar and then followed by the video competition with the intention, one and only, to bring awareness to the younger generation about the sustainability issues where we part of the ecosystem. So talking about sustainability studies, we have 17 goals to achieve, where we should embrace all of those in order to make sure that the world that we live in is sustainable for us to continue our life. Me, myself, I have lived more than 50 years, and then we have not, myself especially, not have so much time to live, but the younger generation are the ones who are going to live most from the world that we living today. So talking about sustainability issues, of course, as a Muslim, we need to refer to the noble Quran and to see what this noble Quran has to say about sustainability. There are many places talking about the continuity of the environment to make sure that it is livable for the generation to come. So I'd like to share the verse from chapter 30 called Ar-Rum, and chapter 30 called Ar-Rum, the verse 41, which mean the translation, mischief has appeared in the land and the sea because of what the hands of mankind have committed or have earned, that he, God, make them taste part of that which they have done, so that they may return to God or may return to Allah. So we have seen a lot of disasters, pollution, corruption on the sea and the land. And we partly have tasted what are the result of this mischief. We still remember where we had recently in Yan, in Gunung Jerai, we have severe flood, taking the life of few people. This is the recent event. We had seen even in Penang, where our river, the one that we hope can bring life, but being polluted, and we don't dare to go near to that river. What is the cause of that? Of course, from the industry, and people couldn't care less. They throw everything in the river as if the rivers are their dustbin. So these are the thing that we have seen over the years. Nobody care about that until we get suffocated, we get a pollution, and the end of the day, it affect our health and our life. We live a miserable life. So this is just to share to you something that has been said over and over again. So that's why we hope from this webinar that we have today can trigger the awareness. Even though the jobs, the thing that we need to do is still, I mean, what we trying to do today is very, very minute compared to our responsibility to change the attitude, to bring awareness that everybody must play their own role in making sure that we live in very sustainable environment. So for today session or webinar, we only focus out of 17, only 3 SDG or sustainable development goal, which is SDG 1, no poverty, and SDG 12, which is consumption and production, and last, life below water, SDG 14. So this will cover land and sea. Hopefully from this small event can trigger ripple and going to be taken up by the larger public, especially in the schools, through this kind of program. So we hope that participant in this seminar today going to act as an ambassador to propagate the message, but most important, to embrace in their way of life. Lead by example, not just rhetoric. Me myself is no exception. I have to live by what I preach. That's the way forward. So hopefully, from this seminar and then from the sharing by the youth expert from USM students, when they share, they also share the knowledge, but they also must lead by example. When they go out, they're going to share to the larger public. But most important thing is that they have to lead by example. We have enough rhetoric, people saying this and that, but we still have to. We still seeing a lot of pollution and corruption in the sense of not giving the due right to the environment around us, killing animal, killing fish, and destroy forests, so on and so forth. Those are the mischief that the Quran talk about, and it is incumbent upon every one of us to uh, to carry the sustainability spirit in our daily life. So I very much hopeful the participant today really understand the message that we USM trying to propagate, and together we do it. Together we deliver to the our society, to ourselves, to our family, and to our friend. And we hope this soon can become snowball effect, and then it's going to be embraced in the larger extent. And then when we continuously holding program like this, hopefully we can gain more participant, gain more friends, in order for us together to embrace and to live the sustainability by the spirit in our everyday life, wherever we go, whenever we go around. So hopefully all the best. Again, thank you very much. Let's hope that whatever mission and vision that we have from this program going to be achieved from this program, and that we practice in our uh, daily life. So again, thank you very much for the main organizer from CJSS and RCE, and also the students from the school, as well from the USM, and the content expert for making the webinar a success today. So back to you, Mrs. Chairperson. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Mak Roslan Hashim, for the meaningful speech. Ladies and gentlemen, Now, without further ado, we will turn the mic over to our first speaker, Ms. Joyce Jaya Bharati from RCE Sejahtera Youth. Ms. Joyce has learned about SDG 1 from the content expert, Dr. Normaliza Abdul Manaf. Let us listen to her presentation on SDG 1, No Poverty. Let us welcome Ms. Joyce.
Okay, greetings to all educators, students, youths, and all who are present today in this online webinar. Hope all of you would benefit from what we are to share today. Well, myself, Joyce J. Bharati, daughter of Balachandran, would be talking on the very first SDG goal, which is no poverty. All right, as for today, these would be the contents of my slide, which are comprised of 3 parts on understanding, prioritization, and also measurement. Let us move on to the first part, which is understanding. Okay, so I believe all of us are pretty much exposed with the word sustainability, but are you really aware of on its meaning or what is its point of it? What is the use of it? Well, according to Brundtland report, um, which is also known as Our Common Future, a publication that was released in October 1987, defines sustainability as a development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs, that calls for concerted efforts toward building an inclusive, sustainable, and resilient future for the betterment of our people as well as our planet. Okay, as all of us know, and as per mentioned just now, there are 17 SDG goals, and each SDG goal are comprised of 169 targets, and they are all accordingly integrated, and they correlate to each other to end poverty, to protect our planet, and also to ensure that humanity enjoys prosperity and peace. Not only that, together with practicing all the 17 SDG goals, we are able to claim accountability, responsibility by taking on the necessary action in progress with the time as per the action taken according to the alternatives suggested. Okay, so let us look into the purpose of SDG goal. As all of you can see, sorry. Okay, as all of you can see on screen, these are the purpose of Sustainable Development Goal. And there are 5 key elements, as you can see on the screen, which is of people, prosperity, peace, partnership, and also planet. So with these key elements, we can develop and prototype creative solutions with the challenges we are facing today and create a virtual simulation to a better future world where we are able to actually achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, moving on to part 2, which is on prioritizing. So here we will look into what is poverty. So do you know what is poverty? We are pretty much exposed to that word as well, but what it really means is that a state or a condition in which a community lacks of its basic needs, such as basic financial resources, and also its essentials for a minimum standard of living, to meet the minimum requirement of living, which simply means to live in a state of being extremely poor. Okay, as for the priority goal today that we are looking into would be on SDG 1, no poverty, which actually aims to end poverty in all forms everywhere through any actions that we take. Okay, so I would like all of you to watch this video. It's a short video, more of like a simple explanation regarding poverty. So let us watch it. From what we can know from the video that we just watched is that eradicating or to put an end to poverty is not just a task of charity, it's more of an act of justice, which is the responsibility we take in and the key to unlocking an enormous human potential. Because still there are almost nearly half of the world population that lives in poverty in a poor condition, whereby there are lack of food and clean water. Not only that, it also kills almost thousands of people every single day of the year. So the main aim is to feed the hungry, to wipe out all the diseases, and give everyone in the world the chance to live a prosperous life just like any of us. Okay, let us move on to the common root causes of poverty. So as for the first cause would be the lack of good jobs. Why this is the first reason is because when you don't have a good job, you're not going to get a good income. And in many countries, traditional jobs like farming, those related to agricultural based, are actually depleting. They are disappearing slowly. So not only that, the Democratic uh, Republic of Congo can also be a very good example because the people there, the community living there, are actually off in rural areas, and not only that, they are basically stripped of natural resources and they are living in scarcity, which means they are living in a totally poor condition in that place. So even nations like in United States, although they do have many jobs or they work with a higher income and all, but these jobs aren't actually paying up enough to meet their daily life demands. So it is pretty much complicated to earn a proper living. As for the second root cause would be the lack of education. So poverty is actually like a cycle, and without education, people are not going to be better to improvise their life or improvise their situation. So in many areas of the world, especially the poor places where people are poor, they are not getting well educated, and the reasons there are many of it. So oftentimes, poor families need their kids to go to work, or they do not have any schools nearby. And also, most of the times, we can see that girls aren't being educated because of sexism and also discrimination that happens within the community itself. And the third one, as you can see, would be war, or I would say conflict. Conflict has a huge impact in poverty. Why? Because in times of war, everything literally stops, and it's very difficult to get things going, to improvise the condition of the country, and not and due to war, foreign countries or any countries that are involved in business, they wouldn't want to invest with the affected country, so it becomes lack of income for the country that is affected during the war. And for families and also individuals that are affected in the war, can make it possible for them not to stay in one place. They have to move from one place to another place, and it becomes very difficult for them to have a standard or an income that stays prolonged. And with that, women become the common reasons for becoming breadwinners for their family, and they have to deal with many barriers such as sexual violence, discrimination, not being able to get the job that they need for ensuring their family's living. So let us move to the next root causes, which is okay. According to a global partnership known as the World Bank, it is mentioned that climate change has also the power whereby it can impact to cause poverty by impoverizing almost 100 millions of people in the decade to come. And that is actually really bad because climate change causes drought, flood, and also severe storms that can actually take down successful countries while pulling the poor countries even more further when any disasters takes place. So recovering is extremely difficult, especially for agricultural communities whereby their farming products are affected and they barely have enough food to feed themselves, and let alone prepare for the next year harvest or to get any income. The next root cause would be social injustice, whether it's gender discrimination, racism, or other forms of social injustice. Poverty is something that just follows along with it. It's a factor that just correlates and come along. People who are victims of social injustice struggle with getting good education, the right job, any opportunities at all, and also the access to resources that can lift them out of poverty. Why this comes is because due to the inequalities that happens in the community itself and the lack of proper income distribution and also access to productive resources, their basic necessities and social services that require for them to run their daily lives. Groups like women's, religious minorities, and racial minorities are the most vulnerable groups that are affected during this poverty. And as for the last one would be the lack of food and water. Without access to basic essentials like food and water, it is definitely impossible to get out of poverty cycle. Everything a person do has to do with about getting food and water. They can't save money because it all goes towards their daily needs. They need to spend on their daily needs, and when that isn't enough a sustenance for one's family, they won't be able to have the energy to work because there's no food. How are you going to have energy? And when that happens, they are more likely to get sick. And when they get sick, the financial situation gets even worse. And the situation of poverty just becomes even more complicated and it's just not solvable if we don't take an action. Okay, moving into part 3, which is measurement, whereby I'll explain about the facts and figures relevant to SDG 1. Okay, as you can see here, all right. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic, as all of us know, is currently playing a big impact, whereby it has reversed the trend of poverty reduction, with millions of people who are in risk of being pushed into extreme poverty because it has caused their daily living or their income to be only of $1.90 per day, causing the first increase in global poverty in more than 20 years. And even before COVID-19 happened, the baseline projection suggested that almost 6% of the global population would still be living in extreme poverty in 2030, which basically means we are missing the target of ending poverty. But yeah, as COVID-19 has happened, everything just took a shift. Hence, the fallout from the pandemic has threatened to push over almost 70 million people into a situation of extreme poverty. Okay, as for this, due to the fallout of the pandemic that happened, developing countries faced a devastating social and economic crisis over the months and years that have passed by and the years to come. Because with the pandemic pushing millions of people into uh, loss of job opportunities, unemployment, underemployment, and working poverty. So having a job doesn't actually guarantee a decent living for people today, you know. In fact, 7.1% of employed workers and their families worldwide lived in extreme poverty in 2019. But then now, because of COVID, it has deliberately increased, and more people are getting into the road of being poor. And therefore, young people who are to work after this are twice as likely to be living in extreme poverty if the pandemic continues. Okay, based on the COVID-19 implication due to the amount of people that have been pushed into poverty, 71 million and above have been affected by this factor. And due to this, it has caused a highly negative impact, which resulted in increased poverty due to job losses and economic lockdown, as well as disproportionate, or I would say unbalanced impact on the vulnerable groups like the poor ones, especially. Okay, COVID-19, besides COVID-19, even natural disasters, they also play a role where they are prone to exacerbate or worsen the condition or the situation of poverty in affected countries. Why so? Because the amount of direct economic loss is just epic, as it reaches up to almost $23.6 billion in 2018 to recuperate, to improvise their condition when they face that. So when COVID-19 happens, together with whatever natural disasters, it's even harder to control the situation whereby more money is needed and crisis happens. So imagine now with the COVID-19 pandemic, 71 million additional people are being pushed into the condition of into poverty. So with this, it will be a struggle for everyone to fulfill their basic needs or essential needs for one's life, such as health, education, and access to proper water and also sanitation. Okay, nextly, this would be okay. According to the World Social Protection Report 2017-19, the universal social protection, it seems only that 45% of the global population is effectively covered by at least one social benefit, while the other remaining 55% comprises of almost 4 million people are still left unprotected. So the lack of social protection leaves people vulnerable to ill health, poverty, inequality, and also social exclusion throughout their life cycle. So it'll be hard for someone who lives in poverty to improve their life situation. Okay, so what I want to say, or what I would like to convey, is that by being mindful and also equipped with information of currently what is happening as per the information I've shared, together we can definitely end poverty in all of its form with a good progress. So it is important to empathize, and we shall look into what is the importance of practicing empathy. Okay, so from a general survey done, 9 out of 10 people find that they are better people when they practice empathy, whereas 10 out of 10 people say they benefit from other people's empathy. So, therefore, empathy is something that is required to be instilled within oneself, which is ourselves, because it helps us to understand how others feel, and we can respond appropriately to the situation of the affected person and help them solve the solution actually. So that's why it's important to practice empathy. And as to how we can develop empathy is becoming in tune, which simply means to go with the flow with others in hardship in any situation at all and try to identify their problem to help them out with it. Next would be to look for emotions, and we should be able to actually identify the person's feelings so we can reciprocate and act accordingly to the hardship they're currently facing in their family or even their own selves. The last one is to imagine yourself being in others' shoes. By doing so, we can be able to think of a holistic situation, because when you are to put yourself in another person's shoes, you can help to think like for them, and we can help to progress the difficulty that they are facing in poverty and help them ease the situation that they're going through. So by practicing empathy, things that we can do to contribute or to help out is to stay informed. You can follow your local news or follow the global goals online, or like, for example, you can follow on Facebook or Twitter, anything regarding sustainable development goals or the current situation. So we can use the social media pages as one of the forms for us to stay informed, and that's a better way of using the social media, you see. And the second one is to find a charity that supports goal one. Any help, let it be a big help or a small help, it definitely does make a difference, because supporting verbally, morally, anything at all, it helps to build up a person and they can come up, so it's important to help others. And then next is to donate what you don't use. So what you can donate is that your gently used clothes, pre-loved clothes, books, and also furniture. It's something that is basic that you can help to donate, and local charities will give it a new life to people who need it in those affected areas. And food, of course, food, a basic necessity and something that is actually pretty much costly for those who are living in poor situation. When you donate food, that is something heavenly for those who are in need of food and water. And lastly, you can lend your voice to fight against the poverty, which is to voice out by joining or supporting any campaigns that is based on SDG 1, and help out the people who are affected by poverty, like and also growing inequality. So you can be able to help them to reduce the poverty by speaking out for them. So the more people are to speak regarding this matter, the more voices are heard and it reaches many people, so they'll be aware of what is currently happening. Okay, so hence overall, what I want to say is that half of the people who are living are the poor ones, and they too deserve to live a happy life and prosperous life with all the basic needs equipped, just like any of us. So it's important that we help the other half of the world community who needs help. We who are better ones are supposed to help the others. So what we can do, the basic solutions is that we can ensure social protection by providing access to healthcare and protection against unemployment. Not only that, it is vital that all of us make sure that there's equal access for everyone to things such as basic services, labor and land, technology, business, and job opportunities. So when that's all equally given to everyone, definitely the situation of each person who are affected is going to improvise. And as individually, what we can do as a person, just us, is to think about it, talk about it, dream, write, make art about it, and act on it. So we make art like posters and all to convey the messages to people. So because people are more interested in visual images, so when you do things like that, we're able to convey the message that we want to convey, and finally act on it by coming up with any solutions at all to make it a betterment for people who are affected. And by doing like this, we are indirectly practicing empathy, because you're thinking about it, you're planning on how to improvise the situation. So you're already practicing empathy, and that's something pretty much good quality that all human needs to have to improvise humanity. Okay, so before I end my presentation, I would like to quote a statement by Dan Setchman, which says sustainable development requires human ingenuity and people are the most important resource, which simply means both you and I are very, very important to curb all this matter to solve this problem. So let us put a thought to it and work out to help save our planet, our people. That's all from me today. Thank you for being all ears. And I really hope all of you benefited from the session today. And yeah, once again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Joyce. So I believe this sharing has provided us with beneficial information about poverty issues globally. Okay, moving to our next speaker, I would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Zarif Ashrani Muhammad alias from RCE Sejahtera Youth. He will talk about SDG 12, responsible, consumption, and production. Mr. Muhammad Zarif is coached by two content experts, Dr. Ashira Abdul Rahim and Dr. Fazliza Cik Ahmad. To Mr. Muhammad Zarif, you may begin.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everyone, teachers, lecturers from USM, students tuning in, my fellow presenters, Joyce and Amirul. My name is Muhammad Zarif Ashrani Muhammad Ilyas, and I will be talking about the 12th SDG, which is sustainable consumption and also production. So, what is in store for us in the 12th SDG, which is sustainable consumption and production? I would like to start by showing everyone a picture and take a moment to look at this picture and tell me, what do everyone think about this picture? Next, I will show a short video regarding to the with some relation to the picture showed before.
Each year, nations generate 1.3 billion tons of waste. Yet, more than half the world's population does not have access to regular trash collection. The United States, China, Brazil, Japan, and Germany are the leading trash generators, and the United Nations Environment Program predicts the amount of waste will probably double in lower-income African and Asian cities as a result of population growth, urbanization, and rising consumption.
Now, coming back to this picture, based on the video from before, what is the problem that you can see from the picture, and what can everyone do, or what can you all do as a student, as a family member, and also a member of this community, help to reduce our trash? So there are a few contents that I would like to present today. So first is, I'll explain again, what is SDG 12? I will show you some facts and data. I will introduce for the 5 R's, and also some home exercises that you all can do to help reduce your waste. So what is SDG 12? Sustainable consumption and production. As sustainable consumption and production aims of ensuring that everyone are being sustainable in their consumption of products such as foods, clothing, or even stationery such as paper, pen, books, to name a few. And also, this as sustainable development goal aims of having a sustainable production pattern, such as replanting trees after we have cut them down. So some of the facts, do you all know that over 23,000 tons of waste is being produced by Malaysia each day? Each day, 23,000 tons of waste is being produced by Malaysia. And that is stats during the 2019. And it is estimated that this year, it will increase to 30,000 tons of waste. Can you guys imagine? So just give a very rough I would say discussion on how much tons of waste is being produced is the 200 times of a single blue whale. So imagine every day Malaysian produce 200 tons, 200 blue whales each day, and also to 23,000 tons is equal of 15 times, 15,000 times of a single car. Can everyone imagine how much waste is being produced by Malaysian? How much trash is being produced? And the world dumps a massive 2.12 billion tons of waste every year. This is according to the world count. If Malaysia contributes like 23,000 tons, so the world contributes to 2.12 billion tons of waste every year. This includes electrical waste, glassware, organic waste, industrial waste. Can you guys, can everyone imagine that? And this is a picture of the deforestation state in Malaysia from the past 20 years, from the 2000 up until 2020. As everyone can see in the map of Malaysia, how many black spots meaning there are no losses, no cutting downs of trees. But then over the last 20 years, almost every part of the Malaysia has been have had activities of deforestation. And maybe in another 20 years, those black spots might not even be there if we do not control our consumption. So this is an annual CO2 emission from the past 50 years, from 1959 up until 2019. So we can see that Japan leads by 1.2 billion tons of CO2 emission, but over the past 20 years, Japan has shown in decrease in CO2, meaning that they have had a very high technology that can, very high, I would say, practice that can help to reduce their CO2 emission. But for Malaysia, we are currently steady going up. There are no signs of slowing down. So meaning if we do not do anything, in the next 50 years, Malaysia might be in the same state as Japan. And this goes to show to the world. So even the world has had a very upward trend. There are no signs of going down in the context of CO2 emission. So no wonder that we have had a very big change in the weather, the global, global warming. This is the contributor. So I would like to introduce the 5 R's. So maybe some are already familiar with the 3 R's, which is reduce, reuse, recycle. But then I would like to introduce another 2 R's, which is refuse and also rot. So what are the 5 R's? So this is just a quick introduction. Again, it is refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot. It's a practice which can help to promote a zero waste lifestyle when practicing incorrectly. So for the first R, refuse. What do we refuse? So we can refuse to use plastic bags when buying groceries. When our mom, our grandmothers, or our aunt, or ourselves go to the grocery shops, we tend to take those plastic bags to put in chilies, to put in onions, and etc. Sometimes we just take it out, take, but we don't even use it. We only need to store like 1 or 2 chilies, but then the plastic bag is really big. So that's a very big waste being produced. Instead, we can use paper bags, or we can even bring our own recycling bags as an alternative instead of just using those plastic bags. Some of the examples of single-use plastics, like I mentioned, plastic bags, plastic bottles, plastic cups, utensils, freebies that we get from party favors or hotel territories, disposable items, even junk mail. Now, the next R is reduce. What can we reduce? So when buying stuff, especially such as furniture or gadgets or clothing, we can purchase repairable items instead of just buying a single-use item. So when the item or product that we use has broken, so we don't need just throw it away and buy a new one. There will be a waste again. Instead, we can just repair the products that has been broken and try to avoid unnecessary purchases. Like I mentioned just now, we went to the grocery shop try to create a list, and for the list, so there's no need to be any blind purchases. Such when we go to that aisle, we're only focusing on that list instead of just, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that. In the end, sometimes we don't even eat or we don't even use the item that we bought. Right? And also decrease exposure to tempting advertising messages. Now, in this era, in this I would say smartphone era, I'm sure that everyone has a smartphone, or most of us. And those smartphone, we have Shopee or Lazada or Zalora. And each day, these apps will send us tempting advertising messages such as discounts, 99, 10, 20, or these really crazy sales that help to promote their sales. So sometimes this item that they are promoting, we don't even need, but because we look at the price and it looks it's a good deal, so just end up buying it. So this is a waste in itself. All right. Next is reuse. Again, like we can practice borrowing and sharing our items. We can again repair instead of repairing the item instead of just buying a new one, and also rethink the item that you already have. Next is recycling. So we can a few items that is commonly recycled are plastic bags, plastic bottles, paper bag, aluminum and tin. Now, plastic bottles, I'm sure everyone has a shampoo, everyone has a body wash that comes in the bottle form. So when it's finished, some of us might not even think about reusing them. We just like throw it away and buy a new bottle. So why not just use the old one and buy the refillable pack and refill it so we can even use it again and again and again. Myself, based on my experience, I have been using a plastic bottle wash since I think it has been in my possession for the last 1 year since the PKP started, since the COVID-19 started pandemic. So every time it's finished, I just buy a reusable, refillable pack and you use it again and again and again. So these are some of the recycling ideas that you can do. And finally, rot. So some of the items or food leftovers, previously we didn't finish, or we just throw it away. But throw it away in the rubbish bin. But why not? We throw it into a worm bin and let the worm turn our waste into high quality fertilizer that we can use to grow our own crops. Maybe we can grow flowers or fruits or even vegetables. So this is an idea. So instead of just throwing away our organic food waste, such as eggshells, carrot cuts, potato skin, onion, or maybe some nasi goreng we didn't even finish the other night, we can just throw it inside a worm bin, and it can help us in producing a high quality fertilizer for our soil. Okay, so again, how can you start a zero waste lifestyle? I already introduced the 5 Rs, which is some of the method that we can use to start a zero waste lifestyle. But again, we can reuse the plastic bags that we have gotten, so we don't need to take a new one again and again and again. And choosing a reusable straws. Don't take those like single-use plastic straws that I'm sure everyone have seen by now. The viral video of pulling a plastic straw from a turtle. It's very painful, I'm very sure. So one way to help reduce that our waste is by using reusable straws such as metal straws or bamboo straws that we can just wash and reuse it again and again later on. And say no to plastic cutleries. Maybe this is sometimes we when buy food from the food store from beside the streets, maybe nasi lemak, they'll give us those spoons, plastic spoons for us to use. Why not just refuse them? Say no. I already have my own. I bring my own metal spoon or metal fork, and such. Okay, so these are some of the ideas that you can do at home to promote a zero waste lifestyle. The first is try to segregate your waste. When we throw away our waste, try to segregate it by their types. I'll say again, dry waste, organic waste, glass waste, or and electronic waste. So this can help the people in the recycling plant to recycle our waste. Then we can recycle our own waste, where we can create many things from recycling our organic trash, such as creating casing from banana skins, or we can even make furnitures from used bottles, those drinking bottles, 100 plus, FNN and all. We can just put in our plastic, no, I'm sorry, we can put plastic, we can put in receipts inside the plastic bottles, and we combine them and produce a chair. This is some of the ideas. We can even make eco-enzyme from organic waste. And finally, we can help to create awareness. What we learn, what we hear, we can help to explain to our family, to our friends, to our community, about the importance of having a sustainable lifestyle and how being a responsible consumer helps to reduce our trash and thus helps to make our planet an even healthier place to live in. So before I would like to end my session, my presentation, so I would like to quote from Sir David Attenborough, which says, it's surely our responsibility to do everything within our power to create a planet that's provide a home, not just for us, but for all life on Earth. Yeah, that's it from me. My name is Muhammad Zahir Imam Elias. I hope that everyone will take what I present and gain something from it. That's it from me again. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much to Mr. Muhammad Zahri for the informative sharing on zero waste lifestyle. Okay, let us now listen to our speaker for today. I would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Amirul Shafiq Izam from RCE Sejahtera Youth. The final topic for today is SDG 14, Life Below Water. Dr. Japaring Lalu is the content expert for this topic. To Mr. Muhammad Amirul, you may now begin.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. Um, I hope everyone is doing well during this pandemic. And today, my name is Mike, and I'm a student from Malaysia and member of RC Sejahtera Youth. Okay. So as you can see on the slide, my presentation for today will be about SDG 14, Life Below Water. Okay, before I proceed with my presentation, let's get some parts. This slide that just want you to have a brief idea about the next. The second part is our main topic, Sustainable Development Goals 14, Life Below Water, and the last part is a closure related to ocean pollution and what we can do to protect our ocean. Okay, just want to show, and you already know about the facts that our oceans cover about 75% of the Earth's surface, containing 97% of the Earth's water, and represent 99% of the living space on the planet by volume. Okay, how many oceans are there? Okay, while there is only one global ocean, the vast body of water that covers 75% of the Earth is geographically divided into distinct named regions. The boundaries between these regions have evolved over time for a variety of historical, cultural, and scientific reasons. Historically, there are four named oceans: the Pacific, the Atlantic, Indian, and Arctic. Most countries, including the United States, now recognize the Southern Ocean or uh, Atlantic Ocean. You did nice about Clinton. Sorry. Okay.
The oceans and seas cover around 70% of the Earth, making the marine environment the largest habitat on the planet. This habitat is home to a diverse range of animals, some very large like whales, sharks, and dolphins. There are also a vast number of tiny organisms, which are perhaps the most important of all life on the planet. These tiny organisms are plankton. Some are so small you could fit thousands of them in a single teaspoon. There are two distinct types of plankton. The first are plants, otherwise known as phytoplankton. These microscopic plankton are found in the top 10 meters of the oceans. They live as single cells or grouped together in chains, and they can photosynthesize just like plants on the land. Phytoplankton absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. They do this so well that they produce almost 50% of the world's oxygen. Phytoplankton are the foundations of the marine food chain. They are food for the second type of plankton, zooplankton. Zooplankton are very important and one of the most numerous groups of organisms on the planet. There are two types of zooplankton. Holoplankton are planktonic organisms throughout their entire life cycle. This group includes copepods, ketognaths, and pteropod mollusks. plankton form the base of the marine food chain and feed larger animals such as fish, jellyfish, shellfish and corals. Some of the largest marine animals feed only on plankton. Basking sharks, manta rays, whale sharks and baleen whales can all hoover up millions of plankton in one mouthful. Plankton are very nutritious, sustaining these giants of the sea and maintaining fish stocks around the world. The diversity of marine life is highly dependent on the plankton in our seas and oceans. This makes plankton excellent indicators of change in the marine environment and means it is very important to continually monitor their abundance, composition and timing. The Sir Alister Hardy Foundation for Ocean Science is an international charity responsible for running and maintaining the Continuous Plankton Recorder Survey. SAFOS use commercial ships to tow the CPR, which collects plankton samples onto a moving band of silk mesh. Plankton data and our research provides
Alright. Generally, the plankton can be divided into two, which are zooplankton and also we will only focus on phytoplankton. Okay. Phytoplankton, also known as microalgae, similar to terrestrial plants on land that conduct photosynthesis in order to live and grow. Plankton in the part of ocean. Okay. I guess you already learned in school what is photosynthesis. Okay, photosynthesis is the process by which plants use carbon dioxide, sunlight, and water to produce oxygen and to create energy in the form of sugar. Okay, so from this process, we know that phytoplankton can absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and produce up to more than 50% of the oxygen that we take in every single time. Okay, now you already understand the importance of phytoplankton in the ocean. Okay. As mentioned by previous speaker, Ms. Joyce, sustainable development was described as a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations. There is the logo of SDG 14. Like okay, and target as one to use marine pollution. The second is protect and restore ecosystem. The third, reduce ocean acidification. The fourth, sustainable fishing. Fifth, conserve coastal and marine areas. Six, and subsidies contributing to fishing. Seventh, increase the economic benefits from sustainable use of marine resources. 14A, increase scientific knowledge, research, and technology for ocean health. 14B, support small scale fishers. And last one is to implement and enforce the international sea law. Okay, for a young student, I believe you should be able to achieve at least the first target, which is to reduce marine pollution. Okay, the rest of the target, let us give to adults, government, policymakers, local council, and so on to tackle it. Okay, the United Nations stated by 2025 we should prevent and um, significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, including land debris and nutrient pollution. Now, let me ask you a question. How can you reduce marine pollution? Please think about it. Okay, it is a simple manner that you can practice wherever you are actually. Okay, for example, even you have a small trash on your hand, like a candy packaging, please throw it in the right place or keep it on you until you find the garbage bin. Okay, again, I prepared another video also from YouTube that tell us about ocean pollution. Sorry.
Up to 20 million tons of plastic goes into the ocean every year. That's as much as 3 kilograms per person each year. Plastics make up roughly half of each person's contribution to ocean pollution. Fertilizers, manure, and untreated sewage pollute the ocean at a rate of 1.4 kilograms per person per year. This causes hypoxia or dead zones in the ocean, killing off marine wildlife. Waste oil from vehicles and machines enters the ocean at a rate of 180 grams per person every year. And other pollutants, like mercury, are introduced to the ocean in small but devastating amounts. But this is not inevitable. We can reduce pollution by rethinking and modifying the way we produce and consume. We can reverse this trend and help reclaim the ocean for its rightful owners.
All right. So from the video, we that the plastic debris contributes the highest percentage to ocean pollution. Okay. As you can see on the slide, that is a Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a collection of marine debris located in the North Pacific Ocean. Marine debris is litter that ends up in oceans, seas, and other large bodies of water. How can this happen? Okay. The amount of debris in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch accumulates because much of it is not biodegradable. For instance, marine debris can be very harmful to sea turtles who often mistake plastic bags for jellies, their favorite food. Seals and other marine mammals are especially at risk. They can get entangled in abundant plastic fishing nets, which are being discarded largely due to microplastics. So, what is microplastics? Briefly explain, microplastics are those that are less than 5 milliliters in length. But why a microplastic a problem? Okay, because they can block digestive tracts, diminish the urge to eat, and, and, and alter uh, uh, animal being behavior. Hence, there are some of feel and cause some humans like human like us lah. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about how we can protect our ocean. Okay, I wrote down only 3 ways that you can practice in your daily life. First is doing beach cleanup. Okay, beach cleanup or coastal cleanup. It is volunteer activities that take place on a regular basis along coastline around the world. Okay, unfortunately, currently we are in pandemic, which prevent us from doing mass outdoor activities. Okay, however, indirectly, this movement could give benefit to environment because it can rehabilitate. In fact, what is important here is how we manage our solid waste. If we in place, then we should in public place, we should responsible for our generated waste. Okay, let me share with you one our previous flagship program. Basically, every semester we would have a beach cleanup project conducted by RCE Sejahtera Youth. Our first project is on the pantai Sungai Batu Teluk Kumbah. At that time, we found the beach there very dirty, full with debris, cigarette butts, and also fishing nets. However, okay, the next semester we came again to do beach cleanup. We found that the cleanliness on the beach improved. Okay, so what I want to say here is, in order to do something good, we have to start over, and then people will follow. Okay, lead by example. Okay, so my second point is reduce your carbon footprint. Why do we have to reduce our carbon footprint? Okay, directly reducing our carbon footprint can help us reducing our energy bills, benefits in to save money, and also give us cleaner air. Okay, it also mean you are doing your bit to combat climate change. Okay. There are several simple ways that you can practice in your home or school soon. Okay. First, ride a bike, walk, or use public transport. And then to go to nearby places. And then please switch off the electricity when not in use. Okay. Okay, last but not least, please avoid using single-use plastic. Okay, what you can do is first stop using plastic straws. Next, please use a reusable produce bag whenever you go to grocery, and bring your own food container, water bottle or tumbler every time and everywhere. Okay. Okay, I think that's all for my presentation. I hope you are learning something from my presentation. Thank you for listening. That's all. Thank you very much.
Azira,
Muted, MC.
unmute mic.
MC mic muted tu.
Azira, we cannot hear you.
Kak Azira, we
Your mic
cannot
is mute.
hear.
Your mic is mute.
Unmute or
Okay, okay. Okay dah.
okay. Okay. So the presentation by Mr. Muhammad Amirul marked the end of our session today. Before we end of our session, we will have a Q&A session. For the participants, you can ask questions by unmuting your mic or type your question in the chat box. As for our Facebook viewers, please type your question in the comment section. Thank you. Okay, our first question here. In Penang, may I know how can we segregate our waste when the garbage truck comes to pick them up? Do they just dump all the waste in the truck? What is the possible success rate of implementing waste segregation in Malaysia?
Okay. I think I can talk about the answer for the first question. How to segregate waste in Penang. So basically, Penang does have a special truck that comes to collect our recycling waste on every Saturday. Yes, on every Saturday each week. So the time is around 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. So the way is we have to segregate our own waste first, so that this special truck will come and collect them on Saturday, every Saturday, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we have to, let's say we have glassware or tins. So we have to wash them first, because if it's dirty, it's not really good. It can't be recycled in the recycling plant. So we have to wash them and put it in a special bag or plastic bag. And on Saturday, we just put it besides our rubbish bin outside. This same goes also to our paper, our other waste, such as plastic, tin, aluminium, or glass, but they can't really recycle broken glass. So we have to put it in a special plastic also lah, so that they know it is broken and such. But then again, yes, to answer, in Penang, they have we have to segregate our own by ourselves and put it beside our regular rubbish bin outside our house on Saturday from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. Then a special truck from the Majlis Pembadaran will come and take it and will transfer it to the recycling plant. As for the second part, I would like to invite my content expert, Dr. Fazliza or Dr. Ashira, to answer it. Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat the second question, please?
Okay, for the second question here, what is the possible success rate of implementing waste segregation in Malaysia?
Okay, thank you for the question. Actually, the government has already started the waste separation or segregation at source in Malaysia for many years, as you all know. And in Penang, we have the Penang state government has also adopted, and also implemented, as Zarif has clearly shared with us, that we have a system in Penang in general in Malaysia, the success rate, I don't have the numbers at the moment, and one of the, even though it is reported by the ministry in terms of the number, but most of what we from the reports and also from our interaction with the local council and also the state government, what is reported is not the true numbers, because most of the recycling activities and also segregation is being done and not recorded in the numbers, but in terms of the number, it shows quite a high number of activities, just that it is not the true number what we have in actual practice. Maybe Dr. Fazriza also can add on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ashira. Okay, we actually already have recycle bins. The government, we have the blue bin, orange, green bin, and brown bin. So all the bins is we will segregate. For example, blue bins is for the paper, okay, and then brown bin for the glass, and orange for the tin or the tins, aluminum tins, and now one more color is a green beans is for the all the food, waste food. So this where we can put all the things or all the waste. I think every country, every state have this the place that they put all these pink, all the colors are the different color of pink. So we can put all the waste in the bins according to the type. I think it's a one way lah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to Dr. Ashira, Dr. Fazliza, and also Zari for the first question regarding to SDG 12. Now, for the second question here, what is your point of view of poverty issues in Malaysia? Now, I would like to invite Ms. Joyce to answer this question.
Okay, thank you for the question, moderator. Well, from my point of view, as for before the pandemic occurred, I think the poverty situation was still manageable in our country, especially. Although there might be slight imbalance in income distribution amidst the community, but I still think it was manageable. But the vast difference can be seen once the pandemic happened, where when they had the campaign Bendera Putih, white flag campaign. So that's when I think accordingly to each district, when there was count and all, that's when we know people were really in need for food and all. So basically, I feel like after the COVID-19 outbreak, that was when there's a significant impact in a household income, where job opportunities was lost. And also, I think now currently, as according to states, I think there's more poverty issues in Sabah, the country, towards the other side, the state towards the other side, due to the people who are staying in rural areas and all. But overall, it is still manageable as per the incidence of absolute poverty by state taken, I think, last year. That shows that there's no any drastic or a high amount of poverty. It is still manageable. The federal government is still able to take up the issue. It's still manageable. That's what I would say. The poverty in our country is not that bad yet, but that is as per my opinion. This is what I think. But I would like to hear from my content expert as well. If there's another point of view, I would like to invite Dr. Normaliza to give her point of view as well. Can't hear you, doctor.
Okay, can you hear me right now? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, regarding the poverty, okay, I think that is actually nowadays during the pandemic, especially in the pandemic COVID-19 right now, the poverty level is actually very poor compared to before. What you talk about just now is actually I think before the COVID-19. Even though we know that in UN statistic, our SDG 1 is actually already green, but that is actually before pandemic, because we know that during pandemic, a lot of people that lost their job. That is actually one of the contribution factor that you already present just now. So nowadays. Uh, Government have done everything. For example, people can take out their KWSP money and all that. But with no job, I think this will not stay long for this one. So we have to ensure that this pandemic is actually end soon, so everybody can back to the uh, normal life as before, because that is actually one of the contribution factor for the poverty with no job. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to Dr. Normaliza and also Ms. Joyce for the answer, SDG 1. Now we move to the next question, to SDG 14. Here we have two questions regarding to SDG 14. Okay, for the first question here, how can we help to improve ocean health? And then next question is, we know mangrove protects our shoreline from tsunami, hurricane, etc. But now we can see more housing areas are developing within the area. People are not aware of their importance, that developers are destroying more and more land. So what is your thought on this? So this question come up from Diana Shahira, School of Biological Science. So to Mr. Amirul, please welcome.
All right, thank you for the questions. I will answer the first question. Okay. As I mentioned previously in my slide, I already wrote down the 3 ways on how we can reduce our ocean pollution. Okay, which are by doing beach cleanup, and then you avoid using single-use plastic, and also reduce our carbon footprint. Maybe I can add on another point, which is use less fertilizer. Okay, when fertilizer are used in gardening and agriculture, the excess eventually end up in ocean. Okay, the added nutrition in the water lower oxygen levels, resulting in ocean dead zones that cannot sustain marine life. Yeah, another point, um, maybe we can select sustainable seafood by buy from sustainable fisheries. Look for special terms like land caught, diver caught, something like that. Okay. Uh, and then for the second question, something about mangrove. Okay. In my opinion, education is matters, because with education, we can think wisely to decide what benefit not only us, but also to environment, to marine life, for instance, and then education. So that's why we what we have today is webinar. We talk about SDG. Um, this webinar actually help us to to spread awareness about the environmental issues, about what we can do to our environment, and so on. Okay. So I hope this kind of webinar, this kind of awareness project can can help people out there that less kurang pengetahuan tentang isu environment ni, so that in the future they can can be more wisely in making decision, especially developing housing at the shoreline. Okay, patah Melayu kata jangan berumah di tepi pantai, macam tu. Okay, I think that's all lah for the question.
So I will invite Dr. Jabarin for editing the content for this question.
Okay, thank you very much. That was a very nice question. And I also think, I think Amirul did answer the question perfectly, especially for the first one and also the second one. But since I was being asked to add, so I'm going to add something. So I think the issue about tsunami and mangrove. So mangrove is going to protect us from tsunami. But then we are developing that area. Of course, we're going to expose ourselves to tsunami. Just like what Amirul said, kalau takut dilanda ombak, jangan berumah di tepi pantai. So basically, sometimes it's nothing to do with the climate, nothing to do with the environment. If you build your houses next to the river or next to the sea, of course, you're going to get the wave, the ombak, and the water. But also, there is a big issue here because development and conservation or preserving the mangrove or jungle is actually a very big issue in Malaysia now, because if you don't cut our mangrove, you don't cut our forest, then you don't have land, because land is very scarce and we need places to actually do development. But then in Malaysia, I think it's quite straightforward, because before we wanted to do any development, we have something called environmental impact assessment, which in Malaysia is actually organized by the Department of Environment. So if we have big project, and basically big project, small project you don't have to, but big project you have to, before you start it, you need to assess the environmental impact of that project. And then the state government or the one who is actually making the decision will then decide whether the cost or the environmental degradation of the project is actually more or less than the benefit that we're getting from having the project. I think a very typical example was the Penang South Reclamation. If you're from Penang, that the EIA report was challenged by the local fishermen community about 2 days ago, and then the EIA report is being on hold, and I think subject for revision before it can be approved, and decisions on whether the project can be continued or not. But this is a very typical example in which the public can actually have say on the project, on the fact that we cannot just simply make development without taking into account the impact towards the environment. So in Malaysia, I think the procedure is quite clear. We need land for development. At the same time, we need to protect our environment. So in order to balance these two, before we do any kind of environmental development, then we need to, if the project is big and it's going to adversely impact the environment, we need to do environmental impact assessment first before we do it, and then we decide whether it's actually good or bad for us overall. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to Dr. Jafarin and also Mr. Amirul for the question regarding to SDG 14. Before we end of our program today, I have an announcement to all participants. For you to be entitled for an e-cert, you must scan the QR code or click on the link given in the chat box and complete the e-survey given. Okay, before we end off our session, I would like to make some conclusion for today's webinar slot. So we have three SDG regarding for this webinar. First one is SDG 1 by Miss Joyce. This one is about no poverty. Okay, and then for the SDG 12 by Mr. Muhammad Zarif regarding to the waste. Okay, and also SDG 14, this one is about the life below water. So I think all the presentation by these three speakers will be give for all the participants regarding to the SDG that relate in our daily lives. Okay, before we end off our session, I would like to invite all the participants to switch on your camera for taking photo session.
Mira, ready ke?
So who's get
Okay.
Mira,
Mira.
yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Ready. Okay. In
Oh,
one.
wait, one more. Amirul Shafiq. Shafiq ke tu? Siapa? The one of the
Miro.
speakers?
Yes.
Oh, Mirul. Not able, is it? Okay, okay.
Okay.
Okay, someone.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Another one. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Right. Thank you, everyone.
3 pages, eh? 3 pages pula. Okay.
Okay, all right. With that, thank you so much to everyone. Stay safe and have a good weekend. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and bye everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining us. And well done to the speakers.
Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you guys in USM.
All right, thank you everyone, and stay safe also.
Please don't forget to send your videos.
Dr.